All right, we're live. Not really, but we're live.
Okay, thank you all for coming. Before we get started on the talk about consolidation, I wanted to just do a quick overview about school funding, specifically our budget, and what changes we're going to be facing due to House Bill 156. So the repercussions of that House bill are just starting to trickle into us. They're going to have a lot of impact on our budget and mostly our taxpayers. So I wanted to share that with you guys right away, and then we can start talking about consolidation, listen to your feedback, brainstorm together. Any questions you have that we can answer, we'll go through that. So I want to start with what our budget looks like in 2026, and then I'll show you how it's going to change due to 156. So a budget is set through OPI, and it's set two different ways. We can use our current enrollment, or we can use the average of our past 3 years enrollment. So for the last 10 years, we've been using the average of our last 3 years enrollment. And then they assign a number each year, and you times that by your enrollment, and then they give you a little base. And that number gives you this base budget right here. So for 2026, our base budget was $6.2 million. So then the next step with the budget is filling that up. And 44% of that base budget comes from these funds from the state and a couple other areas. So the state itself gives us about $1.95 million, and that is strictly based on enrollment number. So for every student we have, we get some money that comes into that specific fund. Then we have the Quality Educator Fund, and that is also known as the STARS Act. That's where that money comes in, and we get money for the licensed teachers that we have on staff. So that money goes into there. And then we have At-Risk Student Fund. That's about $17,000. That again is based on student enrollment. The Indian Education for All, that goes to every school in the state, again based on student enrollment. And then the American Indian Achievement Gap, we got $50,000 last year. That's specifically calculated based on our American Indian student enrollment. The data for achievement, $12,000. Again, student enrollment. We had interest earnings of about $25,000. That's from our money that we have in other funds in the bank. Other local revenue was about $4,700. That happens when people might pay their taxes. And then tuition from other schools, we budget about $25,000. That is for any of the out-of-district students that come to Colstrip. And because of the laws that happened recently, that homeschool is supposed to pay us tuition. So we have billed that money, but we have not received any. And we've even asked the question, well, how do we make sure we can collect that money? And we were told that we could get our attorneys involved. So it would probably cost us more money to go after that money. So that's there in our budget, but we don't really have it. Then the next thing we have is the coal mitigation block grant. This is almost $1.7 million, and that is awarded to us through MCA 20-9-638. We are the only school district in the state that receives this coal block grant. And then the rest of the general base fund has to get filled in, usually with taxpayer funds. So we are in a really lucky situation here that we are able to fill that with coal gross proceeds. And in 2026, it was about $1.7 million. And coal gross proceeds is a tax that the coal mines pay when they produce and sell coal. And I actually calculated that when I worked at the coal mine, so I know all about it. And then every year, the state gives us an inflation increase, right around 3%, usually a little bit less than that. So going forward to 2027, that will look like about $39,684 of an inflationary increase for our school. That goes into that. averages out to about a 2% decline every year. It's like a 1.85 enrollment decline each year. And it was 16% over the 10-year period. So then if schools are in situations like us where they have access to more funding, then you can adopt what's called an over-base budget. And in order to do that, you have to have taxpayer approval. So every year when we send out those ballots to you for the general levy, and then we also send out letter saying, if you pass this levy, we can adopt this budget, but we promise to use whole gross proceeds first before we would use any taxpayer money. So the effect has been very, very minimal to taxpayers when you guys approve those levies. So that is allowed also with a 5-year look back. So say we have a year where we don't pass the levies, we can go back up to 5 years to look at our max budget and we can adopt that. But if we were to fail levies 5 years in a row, then we'd have to revert back down to that base. So that's another $1.6 million from whole gross proceeds that went into our budget last year. And this is just the general fund. And so the general fund expenditures make up 85% for salaries and benefits, 2.4% for professional fees, 3.6% for repairs and utilities, 4.3% for liability insurance, and 4.2% for supplies and materials. And that's like instructional supplies and materials. And then dues and fees of 0.2%. So if we raise one of these areas, then we usually have to shrink another piece of that pie, or try to find another fund that we might be able to use some of that money for. So our liability insurance keeps going up every year, so that's shrinking some of those other areas. And we also have staff raises built into our matrices, so every year you're on staff, you get a raise built in, and so every time that increases, we're having to shrink something else in that pie. So then I pulled up the base budgets from 2016 to 2026, and with our drop in student enrollment, plus that 3% inflation rate or 2.8% inflation rate, we are really seeing a 1% average increase in our budget every year. So that's what we can usually count on is a 1% budget increase. So now this House Bill 156 passed the legislative session last session, and we weren't really sure what was going to happen to us and our funding, but the funding worksheets have come out from OPI. We've started asking a lot of questions because we're not sure what some of this is looking like. And so this is what we know right now is going to happen to us based on that House bill. So they are taking the green boxes on the left, that represents the previous funding model, so what we just talked about. So now if we look at the yellow boxes, that 44% that comes from those state funds, those are going to remain basically the same. And then the next section, where we had that coal mitigation block grant, they pulled that out, and now they're using that to fund our overbase. So that has to come up to the top. So then we leave that in-between area, which is going to have to be a mix of taxpayer dollars and coal gross proceeds. So if that's all that the legislative bill did, we'd be okay, because we would just stick our coal gross proceeds in there and call it a day, and everything would even out. Well, the problem with this bill is that they built in this equalization clause. So the equalization clause now takes our county instead of our district. So now our taxpayers in our county are responsible for all of the schools in our county, not just our specific district. So what that means is that Ashland, Forsyth, Rosewood, Bernie, and Lame Deer, if they have shortfalls in that second yellow box, we have to help fill those. So our whole gross proceeds and our property taxes, when they get pulled together now, those are getting dispersed between all of these schools, plus us. So we are going to have a gap there, and that is going to have to be filled by the taxpayers' property taxes. unfortunately. So I don't know what we can do about that. It's already passed, but we're learning that's how it's going to affect us. We shouldn't see a change to our 2027 budget numbers as a school, but as a taxpayer, you might see those repercussions coming up on your next property tax bills. Our overbase budget now needs, we don't have to get voter approval anymore to run a general levy because that funding is already guaranteed through that block grant. So we won't be sending out those general levy requests for you with that little letter promising we're not going to use it because we won't need it yet. One other thing that will happen is we will lose our 5-year look-back ability. Since we're not passing levies, we might not be able to look back those 5 years. However, there could be a loophole if maybe we run a levy for like $100 or something like that. And you pass it, we're like, see, we have approval, we can do the 5-year look back now, even though it was a small amount of money. I think it has to be over $1 or something like that. So right now our overbase is somewhat safeguarded, but like I said, we are the only school in the state that receives that block grant. And we really don't like to bring a lot of attention to it because every session somebody tries to take it away from us. But I feel personally, now that it's moved up there, that it's easy picking to take out because it's no longer part of our base budget. So that really makes me nervous going forward because we're in a more vulnerable position for our funding. So if the coal mitigation block grant goes away, then taxpayers will also be responsible for that overbase of the $1.6 million. Or if you guys say, no way, we're not going to pay those property taxes, then we would revert back down to the base budget and we would have a $1.6 million shortfall. So, it's not fun. And then there's probably more things going to be coming up, but this is what we know so far. Okay, in addition to the general fund, we also have several other budgeted funds. And our other budgeted funds are funds that also come in from other places. So you can see transportation, we get state and county reimbursement for running our bus routes. But in these funds, we're allowed to have a balanced carryover. So these are kind of like our savings accounts, and we can only use them for specific purposes. So transportation can only be used for transportation. Bus depreciation reserve fund, that's set there for when we have to replace a bus. The adult education fund, that pays for half of the pool expenses. Technology fund, that's all of the security cameras, the Chromebooks, all of our technology. The flex fund is something that we're allowed to use. We've kind of saved it at this point. It's at almost $700,000. Our building reserve fund, $890,000. The retirement fund, $1.3 million. And then we have a miscellaneous fund, and this is not a budgeted fund, but I asked Brittany specifically for this number because this is where that wind farm abatement money has been going that we've been getting. And we haven't touched it yet. So with all of these funds, let's say our full mitigation block grant got taken away today, we could operate for about 2 years if we drained all these funds. So that would allow us to continue to go, but then we would lose all of our ability to fix our buildings up in case we have an emergency or a disaster or something like that. And then the last thing we pulled up is just the general operating expenses for FBMS because people have been asking that a lot. So honestly, they're right around like $200,000 or $325,000. It's not much, and I can tell you we are in a very strong financial position right now. We could afford this. Like, we can afford to go in and fix the boiler right now. We can do all of that. However, can we maintain that with the unknown stability that we have? So that's why I wanted to share those finances with you guys and then just show you this. It includes any of the small maintenance we've done to the building, like the carpet, paint, crack and seal, parking lot. It includes the utilities, and then the liability insurance for the building. So that doesn't cover any staff or anything like that. Okay, any questions? questions on the financials before we move to the other? Yeah.
So with the loss of students this year, how does that impact the individual funds?
So they didn't. Our enrollment that we're using for the 2027 is still within that 1% decline, or that 2% decline. So we're still, I mean, it didn't really affect it that much. We only get $50,000 for that fund. It's like 200 and something dollars per student that we get for that. It's not a major contributor to our budget. Yeah, 48. 48.
Okay, so the bond was in district level, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now the whole county has to pay for that?
No, the bond is still our taxpayers. That was a specific thing because the bond is basically us taking out debt.
Right.
So that's us paying back that debt over a 10-year period. So that's still us. Yep, that's completely
So
separate.
that adds now to all the county-wide that we have to pay.
Yes, and we don't know what that's going to look like yet, but as soon as we have numbers, we want to share those with you guys.
Schools submit their budget in March.
Jaylene?
How is the coal mitigation block grant? Is that a set number? How is that?
Yeah.
I understand it's through Montana annotated. I just didn't know if there was a.
It is. It's a set number, and I believe it has a small increase built in every year. Okay. Yep.
I had a question. Is Ed Joyner, the county commissioner, been invited to be here and to share with everybody across the other schools?
I didn't specifically invite him,
Because
but
I mean, these
yeah.
are Rosebud County Commissioner.
Yeah.
That would make sense
Yeah.
to affect everybody.
Yeah.
And then with the coal, like with the, I'm not familiar with the HB 156, but was that the point of them moving it to where you guys had to use mixed funds before you could use their grant, so it could kind of become whoever wanted to take it? Or what's the reasoning for the switch of how your funds are being able to use on HB 156?
The coal, they actually protected us a little bit with that coal mitigation block grant because it was used in the phase.
Well,
But we would have had to share it with the county-wide now. And so they did protect us by putting it in the overbase.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was just getting
Yeah.
confused with. I didn't know if it was already always protected and now they want you to use your dollars before they kick in theirs.
So, and I think
So I was just getting confused.
it might protect us for a year or two, but I also feel like now it's available to just take.
And then, you know, right now with, especially Rosebud County, everything that's going on, it'd be good to start, I guess, kind of speaking up, you know, the Montana Register.
Yep.
We're all Montanans.
Ever?
I'm just wondering, were you guys aware of House Bill 156 prior to the bond being put out?
I was not aware of the repercussions that it would have on us. And even when that funding worksheet came out, we still really didn't know how it was going to affect us. This we've learned all within the last month or so. Because when that funding worksheet comes out, that's when we can start asking questions and say, that doesn't look right, or how is this affecting our school because we're the only one that has this situation. So people kind of overlook us sometimes.
And as soon as we found this out, that's why we put this meeting out.
Mm-hmm.
Because we wanted to pass this on to you guys. Because it's a huge thing that's going to affect our schools.
Right, yeah, it actually, I mean, it was brought to the legislature in the very beginning of 2025 in January. Then it passed in May, signed by the governor. We didn't have the bond until October. How did MTSBA, OPI, and the county superintendent not bring that to your guys' attention?
I don't think anyone knew how it was going to affect us yet because we didn't know until that funding worksheet came out.
Because it's just gonna be a layering, and I mean, it's not necessarily like, say, for me, but when we have fixed income in this town, you know, we don't have a young community per se.
No, I know, and
It's one of those things that's
frustrating.
gonna definitely.
Carrie, my favorite accounting student.
Do you know how they're going to divide it up between the districts? Like,
Yeah,
is it
so
gonna be
just-
per school, or is it gonna be per student?
It's just whatever their budget shortfall ends up being. So that middle box is where everybody else has mills, and then they have to kind of ask for more. And then depending on what everybody's asking for, is how that money is going to be split up. And unfortunately for us, we are the wealthiest district in our county, by far.
So I guess I asked that question because if we have more facilities, will we get a bigger chunk, or is it, that doesn't even matter?
It's just based on your budget. Mhm. Thank you.
I'm just curious who, I guess why was he, what brought him to this bill? I just want to ask him, what, he was out of the blue, he just decided to do it, I mean, what?
They've been, since I've been on the board, conversations with Lewandowski and other board members and whatnot, they've been after that block grant for a very long time, since it came out, right? Even Bob back then conversation with him was, his biggest concern, his biggest worry was this. Once they get that off of our base, we're going to lose it. We're going to. The rest of the state looks at it and says, why do they get it and not everybody else? Why can't we divvy this up? So they've already done it to the county, right? Now we're going to share our proceeds. So it's just, I would be surprised. To me, this is step one, right? They've got it on our over. Step two will be next year's, we'll lose it. If not next year, 28. This has a very short life, in my opinion.
And they did have another school that had like a land grant, block grant, that they've had for a while, and they were one of the only schools, and they expired that this last legislative session. So we do have people advocating for us, and I know Brittany's had conversations with Gary Perry, and so we do have people aware of it. We have people speaking on our behalf there, but I just don't know. I don't know what we can do. I think we all just need to kind of get involved and try to reach out and see what we can do to protect that.
Gone. I don't know how many of the households, we look for like 4 or 5,000 per household.
I don't know what it would be. But if we don't approve the levy, then we lose the 1.6 million.
And I think the idea of the bill was not more to take away this from Colstrip, but Colstrip I don't even think was the focal point. It was the big places like Kalispell, some of those like really rich, what's the other really rich? So my point, but yeah, so it was, those ones are getting very rich and continue to keep getting rich, and some of the other smaller places are not. And so I think it was to look out for the little guy, is how I have looked at it.
I don't know, since the primary sponsor was David, the day from Hamilton.
That's not the name on the back of the bill.
Well, there's probably multiple sponsors, I don't know.
With that coal block grant, were you guys aware of anything passing this last legislative session that is actually more stable for our school to use it in their budget? Is that
So-
what you're kind of talking about, and that?
That MCA was updated. What was it? MCA 29-638. So when I first started on the board, I'm also on the Colstrip Impacts Foundation, and that's part of that group that manages that $10 million that we got as the community. That legislation originally that gave us that block grant specifically had wording in it that said, if you touch any other money that is meant for coal mitigation, you have to pay back your entire block grant and probably the years before that. So this now they took out section 4 and down, which was the wording that said that. So I ran it past our attorneys and said, are we safe to use this now? And they said, do not touch that money. Because we would have to pay back 1.6 for however many years they want us to.
I would encourage you guys to really look at that bill that just passed, just because
there's more of a safe net, I guess, for you guys with that money, because of the sunset date of the plans. We've already went over that. So just so that you guys are aware of that, maybe.
They took all the dates out in this new revision.
They did.
From what I saw, yeah, 'cause that whole section 4 was all the dates, and that's why I asked if we could use that funding.
Sure,
And they took all the dates out because they had all expired, and they were all passed. So now it's just one.
Okay.
Deanna?
Last spring, when I went to Helena for and we met with Capitol members, it was partially about this. And most of your FCS teachers throughout the state of Montana fought this, and we fought it hard. We sent letters, we did all kinds of things trying to get this to not pass, because ultimately this affects a lot of where the state is trying to get us to go, which didn't make sense. And Gary Perry was one of the leaders in that. While he didn't meet with all of us FCS teachers from the state of Montana, 2 other people did. We took all that information, but unfortunately, those other smaller towns did have a huge fight, because in Whitefish, Bozeman, Butte, Missoula, all your outskirt towns, and they have no money. And so while I feel for them, I worry about this, because this is actually step 2 of their process, because their original step was years ago when the state went, wait a minute, why is this town the richest town in the state? And they started making us share the money that we get from the plant and the mine, statewide. Now, they're after this piece. It's like they've whittled us down to making us share not only with the whole state, but now the county different counties in the town lose their revenues. So we're getting fought against the towns that have losing their revenues. For instance, the railroad. Okay, they lost revenue. So of course they want an equal pot, because now they don't know how they're going to gain that pot. And this is just going to be a continued struggle. And it's sad, because it's just like owning your own business, which, Steve, you can relate with that, it's like your neighbor that's not doing well says, hey, you need to split part of your budget with me. And it's not fair. And I don't know what our fight can be to say, hey, wait a minute. We worked hard for this community, and we're trying to build our community, and now you're working against us.
You're absolutely right. That's what it boils down to. And Sabrina showed you those other funds, you know, that this district has done so well. And thank for Brittany and Joanne before to keep those funds where they are, right? They're pretty healthy right now. That's why we got such a great rate and everything on the bond. That's why the bond was so easy for us to get once we got board approval to pass it, because of the financial situation we're in. Now, if we tried to do this, I would worry if we tried to do this next year, this bond, it wouldn't be as good, right? We wouldn't have got, it would be a struggle, I believe. And like I said, I worry now that block grant, we're not far from losing that.
So, back to that, the other funds, Kenny, you said, with the funds in these, other funds, the dollars in these funds, we could operate for 2 years. So you're saying that these funds now, I've been out of school finance for quite a while, so these funds now can be transferred over to the general fund?
No.
So we couldn't operate for 2 years?
So our general fund would shrink, so we should be able to pay most of our salaries out of that.
So you can pay salaries out of the other funds?
Some, so,
Not all of the ones you have up there. Technology, yes. Transportation, yes. But they have to be obviously a bus driver or somebody in tech. Building reserve fund could pay for some of your maintenance on the buildings, but now if we ever in the general fund, we use that. Your utilities, you can use the building
money in some of these funds could be used to subsidize the general fund.
Yes,
But we
the
couldn't
general
take these
fund.
funds and operate with nothing else.
No, we would use the bare minimum of that, and then we would use these wherever we could supplement to
Okay.
help get by.
And then on your first, I think it was your first tab there. Yeah, I didn't, and again, I've been out for a long time, maybe there's a chance, but I don't see impact aid money in there anymore.
Impact aid is not a budgeted fund, so it's a separate fund, it has different rules, and so Brittany and I talked and we're like, if we put that up there, it would be a whole other presentation by itself. And so I can do that, at a later time, we could go through and share all that with you, but it's not a budgeted fund, so it doesn't get approved through the OPI system like the rest of these do.
And then the pie chart, I think landscape.
I'm sorry,
The
what,
pie chart, which is under the landscape tab, I believe.
that one?
Oh, other days. Do you have the split between repairs and utilities? That seems like maybe a kind of a strange way to do things. I mean, utilities should be fairly stable, but the repairs, which I assume is maintenance type repairs, would be interesting to see the split there.
I'm sure Brittany could get that for us. And again, this is just one fund, so those are just things that hit the general fund that we aren't using out of those other funds. So just because that says 3.6% utilities and maintenance, or repairs and utilities, that doesn't mean that's all the repairs we've done. So we use those other funds when we do some of our maintenance. We take what we can out of the general fund, but then we can use these. But these ones we can save and carry over year to year. The general fund, we have a 10% limit every year that we can carry over to the next year, so we have some cash flow for payroll and stuff. But these, we don't have to use every year. The general fund, we do have to use every year.
All right, then my last question, we talked about having a bigger, and this is all, a bigger permissive levy. Now you don't have to have it voted on.
No. So since our overbase is already funded, that's why we don't have to run a general levy for the overbase.
So you just don't, you're not going to be, we're not going to have to run it in this district, but the rules haven't changed.
So we do have permissive levies
Right.
come out of these, that go into these funds.
Yeah.
And that allows us to flow
The
in
amount
the
of
Colstrip proceeds.
the permissive levy has not changed.
We use the very minimum permissive levy every year, because if we levy some of these, then that means Colstrip proceeds can flow into them. If we don't permissive levy them, then we can't.
Yeah. I'm talking about just state law rules.
Yeah.
That has not changed.
No, not that I'm aware of. No. Who else had a question? Oh. Yes.
I don't have the numbers yet, but we just finished the application, so I don't know the numbers yet, but we were lower, obviously, in our numbers. But impact aid deals actually, what does it pay for? We do pay, certain salaries out of impact aid, a couple of them. And then we also use it to fund half of the pool. And we use it to, pay for some curriculum or some programs for the students. But other than that, we
The activity bus.
Oh, yeah, activity bus. But, other than that, we haven't had to rely on it. Because impact aid, as you noticed, a couple of years ago, no, not even a couple of years ago, a year ago, there was a halt from the Department of Education that said you're not giving out any of these anymore. And so that got everyone really worried that that's not a given. And so, we've been very careful as a district not to rely on them. That's why we only have one, person's full salary out of there. So we are saving it, but it will go down, for sure. I don't have those numbers with me, but I can send it to you. Yeah, maybe I'll bring yours for a meeting.
And for anybody that doesn't know, impact aid is available for schools who have students that live on like tribal or federal land, and anybody who works on tribal or federal land. So any of our students who live right now on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, they go to school here, we get to count that, and then people like me who work in Lame Deer, we get to count that as well. So we do have money from that. Like Brittany said, it is going down, but we use it to pay the activity bus that runs to Lame Deer, that salary that we can use out of there, half of the pool. Oh yeah, and it's not specific to reservations. It's federal land, so like in Great Falls, anybody that lives on the Air Force Base, they have the same thing. It's the same situation.
And that's a per person allotment?
Yeah, kids are worth more than like I am, but yeah.
Is that the state allocation of funds, is that changing on a per person?
I think it's federal funds.
Yeah, federal funds, and it depends on what grade the kid is in, so, you know, a high school kid is worth more than an elementary kid, kind of one of those kind of things, so.
Sure, but is that, what I'm asking is, has it changed?
Not that I'm aware of,
It's the same dollar amount?
yeah.
Anything else? Okay, so let's open it up to maybe brainstorming, concerns, questions about possible consolidation. And like I said, we can maintain right now, we know we can. But I feel like we're in a fragile situation, and so we need to prepare for our future. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know if that looks like closing that school, or if it looks like closing a different school. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure. This plan was put into motion in 2013, and we've just been kind of following those steps. So phase 1 and 2 were done. We're kind of in phase 3. Phase 3 of the project said, find gym space and move the kids. So we're still problem solving the gym space. I think that's been one of the #1 concerns I have heard from everybody. So we want to hear from you guys now.
We also talked about triggers here a few years ago, and those triggers were absolutes. If this happens, we are moving. Okay? Class size, we lost a class, we went to Class C, we've moved. I can't remember all of them. The block grant was the main one.
Or failing levies.
Or, yes.
For 3 years or something.
Yeah, there was 4 or 5 of them. But the big ones to me that I remembered were we had to drop down a class, or we lose that block grant. So, right, which is, if we lose the block grant, that's a drastic change in the budget. This isn't happening next year. This is not gonna happen in school year, 26, 27. If we do this, it'll be, school year 27, 28. And I think by then, we're gonna know. I think we'll know for sure. And I think 27, 28 or sooner, unless something in legislation changes on our behalf. I really think that grant's gone.
What happens if our numbers go up if we get this new? Have you talked to Talent Energy, or, you know, what happens if all of a sudden we get an influx of 50 kids in the high school? What happens then if we do this combination and all of these other things with the potential boom? How is that, what are we gonna do if we're, you know, tripping over each other?
I don't.
Yeah.
Right now, there's nowhere to live.
I know, right?
Three spots. There's like 3 houses, I think, available in Colstrip that are for sale, and there's no lots to build on. So right now, we're not looking at that influx. They would be living elsewhere. And that nuclear, just for reference, that nuclear plant that they're even remotely thinking about, if they're putting it where they're talking about, that's in the Forsyth district. That money is Forsyth district.
Isn't it just right on the, right there? No.
Way up 39.
So Cedar Village is kind of split in half for our district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is Forsyth School District.
It might be for, say, school district, for their.
I guess I'm just wondering if you guys quickly, or not quickly, but I mean, everybody can get rounded up for pretty, for rural, but we're very expressive, to start rounding up all the people, all the different schools, legislators. Isn't there a house seat open in Rosebud County right now for the House? To try to advocate for ourselves? I know we don't have a lot
Harry
of
has been
money,
advocating
but.
for us, and he is our House
No,
representative.
I know,
Yeah.
I understand, I guess for me personally, I just, off subject and for the kids, I just feel like these middle school children deserve to have their own space where they're not shoved in with high schoolers.
Or in the same locker room.
Or even with the elementary, they're so excited to finally get out of Pine View, now they gotta go back.
Yeah, no, I know, I've been against,
But I remember,
Closing
I
that
was
middle
like
school
one of the
from the
last
beginning.
schools, one of the last kids at Isabel Bills before it shut down.
yeah.
So,
I've been on the board for 4 years now, and I've always been against closing the middle school. And I am still that way. I feel like those kids need that time to grow up. I feel like they need to earn their time, you know, their rite of passage to get to high school, to play the sports and to, you know, do all the things. But my fear is that we won't be able to sustain that, and we're a board that has always been very transparent and proactive.
no, I understand, I watch the things, I just don't speak because.
Right, no, but I'm just saying, we're trying to be really proactive with it, and we want everybody's feedback.
Yeah, but I mean, if you need people to help round up people,
Carrie, do you have something?
you can do white papers. The Senate, everybody wants Montana right now.
Okay,
Amber.
wasn't sure.
I do. Have any board members reached out to the local economic development at all about any of the
The
purchase
local
of the
what?
new land,
I'm sorry, the local what?
economic development, SENDC? Has anybody from the board, anybody?
I talked to Jim the other day, and, you know, just about like, what happens in a community where a school closes? And like you said, you know, we've never been involved with something like that, but it's not like they couldn't, because just because it's not a school anymore doesn't mean it can't be something very important to our community still.
Right, so
And
like
so-
the surrounding areas, things that are happening, the purchase of the land, you
Right.
know what I mean? Those are things that are economic things that are coming into our community, potentially. I mean, we're looking at possibly 200 plus people, families moving into our community, whether it's Forsyth, whether it's
That's kind of the big thing, is like,
Here,
where would
whether
they
it's
go?
wherever, we have people traveling outside in.
Yeah,
I mean, even when we stop the buses, we still have people transferring their kids.
yes.
So, I mean, we have to think about those things. I mean, have you guys thought about talking to the commissioners about any sort of housing study that's gonna be going on in Roseville County? To, you know, bring in more housing for this reason.
Right.
I mean, are those things that you guys have thought about?
Mm-hmm.
Housing's always
Or
been on our,
talked about,
what
or,
we're
you
thinking
know,
about housing.
those are just some of the things that I think people are frustrated with is
Yeah.
those aren't the solutions that is being brought to the table. You guys are asking for solutions, but we're not getting a solution, we're just getting nowhere.
Well, I think that,
And that's
you know, I would
frustrating,
love to
I
be able to
understand it's
manage.
frustrating for you guys as well,
Yeah.
but as a community, it's frustrating for everyone.
It is
Yeah.
frustrating, and I would love to be able to manage our entire town, like, but we can't. We're the school board, and so we manage the school district. And if we can work together with other agencies to figure out what to do with some of those schools, then that's great. But I don't think we can be held responsible to create housing for 200 families that might be coming in.
Absolutely, no, and I don't suggest that at all, I'm just saying, like, as, you know, Tiffany stated, that there's 3 houses in Colstrip, you
Yeah.
know, whatever that is looking like.
Mhm.
There's other studies that are happening behind the scenes that you guys don't seem to be aware of to hopefully fix that problem. You know, those are things that could be happening in your community that could bring some sort of relief to you guys, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Are there, what studies are you talking about?
For what?
What studies are you specifically
A
talking
housing
about?
study. So we do like our economic sets every single year. Sabrina, I don't know if you've ever been to one of those. And we talk about housing studies, we talk about all of those kind of things. And so when those are brought up, we bring those to the commissioners, we talk to the legislators about those kind of things. So that is just, it's frustrating, I guess, like I said, as a community member, when I know nobody's reached out, you know, I know that. So I hear the concerns that you guys are bringing to the table, but
If you had those concerns that you think we don't know something,
sure.
why wouldn't you bring it to us? Because sometimes I don't
I've
know what
tried
I'm
to and
supposed
you
to
never
ask.
responded. So
I told you to reach out to other board members because you get a little hostile.
I'm not hostile with you. I said let's have a conversation, like adults, and be post about things.
Right, but
And
I
I
don't
want to
see,
do that.
what we don't see is,
I will definitely.
I don't see a boom coming to Colstrip with an influx of, 50, 60 kids? I don't see that. I don't. Even if this whole other project goes through, great. I would suspect that probably well over 50% are not going to be in our district anyway, right? My concern is this, that block grant.
So we also have a cap though, right, for how many kids we want in class, right? That is something that is.
We set the cap at 75% of the state level because before we put that cap in, our classrooms were getting overfilled, and then you'd have to quick and hire a pair to be in there, or try to bring another teacher in last minute. So we put that cap in at 75%, but most of our classrooms are above that because we know we have influx after. So that was just a planning thing that we did.
Sure. So when we're talking about declining students as well, when we had to stop the bus routes, right? How many kids did we lose?
40?
So you're saying that we couldn't get 50 kids here, but we just lost 40 of them. Plus, so that's where I'm kind of coming from, and I know that I've had family members apply for that position, and they've never gotten a response saying the position's been filled. Nothing.
Right, but
So-
even if those 40 kids did come back, what we're saying is we have the room for it. Even if those 40 kids did come back, we have the room. That's what she's saying.
Right.
I mean, as far as your applications go, we hear that all the time. Well, so-and-so applied, but there's a process to that, and it's not that, especially when it comes to school bus drivers. We followed through on, as far as we can go with applications for school bus drivers, right? It's like, if they don't follow through, or, there's some things that hold people up, it's just, the school bus thing was, you can blame the district all you want.
Frustrating
Like,
for everybody.
we just can't get it done. We can't. There's just nobody available that wants to do it. We have some people in the community, as far as bus drivers go, that would help during the day, right, to shuttle kids from, one school to the next for like swimming or whatnot. There's quite a few of those people that are willing to help. It's the route drivers and the activities that we fall short on. And that's just hard to get. That's just not us. That's everybody.
So, sorry to kind of go back to this, but with the House bill, have we amended any sort of budget or anything like that since it's been approved?
We don't have to yet.
You don't have to yet?
No,
How come?
because right now our actual dollar amount isn't going to change for 2027.
Okay, so it's the fiscal year part of it. Okay.
That's why we're here having this discussion.
Just out of curiosity, the staff at the high school had a meeting last week, and there were a bunch of questions that were asked and stuff. Do you have answers? I know you guys weren't there, but Scott was there, so I don't know if there are answers to some of those concerns and questions that can kind of help, at least for the staff that are here, because the money part of it, yeah, it does play a role, but
Yeah.
as a teacher and having taught middle school for 18 years and now teaching high school, knowing the difference in the brain development, knowing the difference in adolescent behavior, I'm all about, I love saving money, that's amazing, and I understand the financial concerns. Also know that I am not a math person, so just laying that out there. My biggest concern, I don't care about the sports, I know everybody does. I don't care about the, sorry, Andy. I don't care about the sports. I know there's value to it. Sorry, I got a big one. My biggest concern is the kids. And I mentioned my years with middle schoolers, and I worked in private schools, and so those middle schoolers were a little more tame. And because there was a process, of interview before they were allowed to go to the school. And knowing that, and knowing the difference, knowing where the adolescent brain is, not just for middle schoolers, but also for high schoolers, and where they are developmentally. The idea of putting those babies, and I call them babies, and I know that they are not, and they would hate me. They would hate me for saying it, but they are babies, and they are precious, and in that developmental stage, to throw them in with high schoolers because of money. And again, I understand the finance. As much as a non-math person can. I understand the math side of it. And I understand the concerns, and I understand the possibility of things going awry. But I'm here for the kids and for their well-being, whether they're in the middle school now, in the high school now, or down in the elementary school. And pushing to put those babies up here with the amazing high schoolers that we have, and I love them. But putting them together, and they would absolutely be together. There's no way to separate them truly. Is that worth the risk? Is risking that development, risking that safety worth the savings?
And I don't know a lot of other districts, but I know I have some friends and stuff in the Forsyth district. And I asked them, when they did it back in 2010, they centralized. I asked them, I said, what was the first reaction to that? And a lot of them were just like you. It was just like this. And I was like, okay, because that, to me, that was probably born. And then a year goes by. And then another year goes by. And now it's fine.
Okay, what kind of training was there? What kind of preparation ahead of time? Because everything that I have looked at emphasizes very, very strongly preparation ahead of time, not just the staff, but also the kids. Sure. Because the expectation.
I think as parents, because I've got one that's in middle, one that's in high school. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to have a conversation with both of my kids.
Yeah.
Right? Going to have that. There's going to be a conversation for sure at home. As far as preparation, like I said, this is not going to happen next school year, right? We'll get through some of these community meetings. We'll get through the survey that we're put out to the entire community, right? Get the whole tax base things, okay? And let's say that the tax base says, yes, let's centralize or consolidate, whatever you want to call it. Then school year 26-27 is going to be a lot of discussion and planning on how we integrate this, how we do this, right? What's the expectation of the staff, right? What's the expectation of the students? Okay? Even go as far as what's the expectation of the parents?
I would love that.
Right? It's not going to happen over the weekend. I thought looking at all this stuff from 2013 to today, with the plans and the phases they all put in place, I thought, this shouldn't be that big of a deal. And then you start peeling that onion, and it's like, okay, no. You have to consider this. You have to consider this. I have reservations, but I know the staff that we have in place right now, the teachers, first year might be a little rocky, but then that year goes by, and now we're in 27, 28, or 28, 29, and pretty soon, I feel like the people from Forsyth, eventually, it's a non-issue. It's what we do. Tom?
I was on the board of Forsyth when
I wasn't gonna say.
It was 99 and 2000 my senior year.
What's that?
It was 99 and 2000 my senior year.
Oh, was it? Okay.
I was also on the city board of we have, I don't know, umpteen meetings like this, and it was a 2-year process to get it done. I know you're saying it's been on the schedule since 13, but we had intense battles at meetings like this for 2 years. And every one of them was worth it. Yeah, it was tough in the beginning. It was real tough.
That's what
And
everybody
we
told
lost
me.
students when we did it. People left the community because of it. But it happened, it had to happen. I don't know that the finances here are quite as drastic as they were at that time. One thing we did do, what kind of reaction I get here, we kept the middle school open, the gym open, and it was still.
Yeah, you have to. How can you not?
And I guess I don't see a scenario where you're not gonna have to fix that boiler. The only scenario I can see is that boiler that goes down is if you demolish that building, and I don't think they're ready to go that route.
As far as the middle school goes, I know Brittany has talked to our insurance, just the insurance district. Their recommendation was if we shut it down, we shut it down. You don't try to keep the boilers going or the electricity just for that gym, because you're gonna eventually, your maintenance is not gonna be so much focused on that, and then that's where we have another flooding in the basement, or that's where we lose something electrical again, or whatnot. I know gym space is the biggest concern. That's really the token that everybody's talking to me about. What are you gonna do about gym space? Gym space, gym space, gym space. I get that. I don't have an answer for that yet. That's why we need you to help us with that, right?
What little I understand about it is it'd be a hell of a lot cheaper than building a new gym.
Probably.
We did have quotes to segregate the water and heat for that part of the building. I think it was like $1.2 million at that time is what it would have cost to do that. So, I mean.
It's something that we're gonna look into that,
Fire
for sure.
suppression must have been a part of that, and to do that expensive.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you want to shut down something. Now you're gonna shut down the roof, you can't.
Is that where, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Is that where all the servers are? Let's ask Evan. How would that work?
The internet and phone hub are in the old part of the building, right behind the cafeteria. So if we, in order to shut that building down completely, we have to move the internet hub and the phone hub over to the high school. That's a project that's been in the works, and it's not going to be a super expensive project. There was some talk of years ago, some $1 million or more to move all that. Internet would have to be moved first, and we have the infrastructure to do that. We just have to work with our internet service provider. And then the telephones is a bigger project because that's all running on the very old CenturyLink equipment that used to fill the town, and we can't get that same type of service here at the high school because the underground wires don't exist for it. So once we get internet moved here, then we could look at a completely new phone system that runs through the cloud and runs over the internet. So it'd be a two-phase project, something that possibly, let's say we move the internet this summer, and if there's enough time, maybe move the phones, but that's going to be the phones will be a disruption to all the buildings because every phone would have to be replaced, all the phone equipment would have to be replaced. Whereas the internet move could potentially happen within a week, depending on if we can get our 2 or 3 vendors scheduled together to do that on the same day. We'd have to do it on one day, so it's just a one-day outage of internet. So,
How much would that be?
well, I don't know. We look at so power-wise for the building, the main place you have to look at is the cafeteria would have to keep power on, and the room right behind Michelle Peterson, so the old like SRO office right there at the front of the building. Those 2 rooms are the only place where the district internet and phone service affect the rest of the business.
Trey?
So I would be remiss, and my father-in-law would be calling me because he has a sixth sense about this. Him being a telecommunications specialist out in Omaha, I got a question, and this is the question that he asked, is did you get that number from a salesman or did you get it from a technician? Because there are two separate numbers. Because when you're going through and you're looking at a technician, once again, love the trades, they know what it actually takes, and the salesman is just there to go through and to get you to buy the service. So, did we get the number from a technician or did we get it from a salesperson? Because those are two separate numbers.
The internet's easy. That's easy. It's the phone that's.
That's exactly what I mean. He's
And that's something we would
telecommunications.
have to get a.
Yeah, I don't think we have a quote for that yet.
Okay, make sure you get it from the technician, not the salesperson, because the salesperson will lie to you.
I think if we look into that, bring Trey into the conversation.
Let's get my father-in-law. He'd go through, you pay him.
Chrissy?
You mentioned the other schools that you talked to. Just out of curiosity, do you know how their buildings are set up? That would make it, like, how, to kind of picture the flow of.
No, I didn't ask him how they
They have all.
transitioned. I just wanted to know as a sense of community, how did it go?
Yeah, and I think, like, I agree, that's an important factor, but also looking at how the population of students between the middle school students and the high school students, how they move about the room, or the building, and the difference between schools that have done it and that it works well for versus what we have here, I'm just curious how that compares. Because as, you know,
It's a
as
good
I've
question.
tried to
Yeah,
picture,
I know.
it just
I
like.
know if you go down to the superintendent's office, there's a big board with magnets that's got the entire high school, level to level. And this has all been done since they completed the,
Yeah, that was, something
repairs.
like that
How
was
it would
mentioned
flow.
at our last meeting.
So, right. What, yeah, speaking, Mr. Tremba, if this, let's say we do decide on, central station, whatever you want to call it, I would hope that there would be a committee of teachers, I mean, all of them, the maintenance, the staff, not just certified, but classified, everybody that's got some input on how this works, right? So,
When we started this back in 2013 or whenever, McKinstry put that original plan together, and there were like 4 different options, which I would encourage you again to look at that and have them review the numbers. But we did have a committee, and there were
and I also think back,
I was a parent rep on there, and there was admin, and there were teachers, and there were board members.
and we're down how many students from when that was first?
45.
We're 100 now? Pushing
45 from them.
from then?
From high school, 45.
Yeah, the total on that, with Robin's talking about, was up 520. We're running about 420 right now.
Okay.
100 less approximately, we think, in 2018.
From 18. Okay. Nate?
What are we looking at price-wise to get it back up to snuff? Pump, boiler, anything else?
Boiler needs a tube replacement.
Tube replacement. Robert's having a time trying to get those people out on that type of boiler. It's a small package, low pressure boiler. They're just shipped in on skids. We're working on that. I know there's an elevator issue. And I know that quote was pushing $250,000 on the elevator. We have to have that to keep our ADA, right? I thought about that too, but I gotta look into like, how can we do that? How can we do our public thing? You have to bid it out. Right, yeah. But we probably get afford days. Those are top dollar boiler makers over there, $500. Karen?
Can you remind me, is it the main old high school part, or does it include the cafeteria and the stage that are the foundation issue over there at the middle school? That's called,
The
What
old
part of the
part
building?
is, the old part
The main
is
old
the
part.
biggest issue.
okay, but
Okay.
it doesn't, does that include the cafeteria and the
And the gym.
gym? Is the gym not the old part?
Well, it's the problem, and I don't know
Oh, the old
100%,
gym, which
it's
is
how do
the
we cut
cafeteria.
off this to keep this? We don't know how to do that
Okay,
yet.
that's what I was.
Or if we
And
even
the
can.
foundation is absolutely not fixable. I, is that not,
I think it was thinking just like every other building in Colstrip pools.
okay.
It's been sinking for a bit.
Now you tell me. Okay. Don't
There
question, I
are-
guess.
There are some things on the deferred maintenance list that I wish some people had gone through to get off of that, you know? If it's on there, why is it on there? If it doesn't need to be on there, get it off of there. Okay, fine. I'm not gonna point fingers on that or anything like that. It's a list. At some point, somebody said, this needs to be fixed. Okay. Somebody else decided, we're not gonna fix that right now, right? And things have been pushed off and pushed off. Like I said, my main focus is not so much the school or the consolidation. It's this. This is going to change a lot of things in this community. We lose that block grant. Listen, I was born and raised here too. Graduated K through 12 right here. We've been lucky for a very long time. We've had it all, right? The rest of the state is now saying, you're not going to get it all anymore. You're going to be like just like everybody else. We've been, I don't know what's the word, not entitled, but.
Well, our cultural
Oh, no, I'm not making this based on the fear. I'm making the decision based on when we lose that. What's coming? I think it's coming.
Also, we do know we have to share our co-gross proceeds.
I understand that. Why don't we apply for the whole grant? The whole board grant, we don't apply for the spotlight.
Yes, and we can.
We
Because
can.
that would take care of a lot of the repair work that needs to be done, on a lot of the issues. So why don't we let that for 3 years? Secondly, why not move the 5th grade to the middle school? Would that be feasible to, or is that not a good idea? After I
Yeah.
What I've heard from the teachers is that the standards are different, K-5 through 6-8, and that's why there's been a lot of discussion too about what happens if the 6th graders do go down, then those standards are different, what do we expect the teachers to do? So I do know that's been a big discussion.
Or what if we move the 6, 7, 8 through here, we left that there, you know? We're still playing with all that stuff. Not right now, we have not considered that. Mr. Parker.
In schools that I've been where we considered moving out elementary to a more mature, I have 2 young girls, so I'm going to say this for a more hormonal environment. We were really good. In one school, we really didn't want to do some of that, and didn't. But in all the other schools that I was in and responsible to help, somebody back there said,
operations alone was just $350,000 just for utilities, maintenance, supplies, and liability insurance. So that's all we pulled for now. I mean, there'd be a lot of, it depends on what the staffing looks like. Do we have 2 principals? Do we have 2 secretaries? Like, things like that would all need to be considered before we would have like a final number.
And then you also said something about, looking into seeing if you can consolidate the gym or whatever option. And that is, you are going to explore that option to see how much it costs. Yeah. 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 We'll put all those numbers together as best we can from, from the people we have here in town, like, I'd probably ask Brady on the electrical side, DEI, right? Give us an idea what that's gonna take. I know my last conversation with him was the last time we had an electrical issue down there, the parts they had to buy off eBay. That's how old that is. And there's some concern if we have another bad electrical outage, just that alone, we're in the 7 figures to replace a lot of that stuff. Because it's just not going to be compatible. So that's something we're considering, but yeah, we will look into it. That's been a year or 2. We were talking about that before the pool.
Have we looked into building a second gym at the high school or around there? The school, my middle school, I went to had a gym and with its own locker rooms and there was 2 options on that. One was filling in the pool and creating an oxygen. And then the other one was building off of the side with the vestibules to create another oxygen lock that way. And that was, at that time, it was $1 million. I don't know. Those numbers haven't been pulled in quite a while, but yeah.
We'll have to, right?
Yeah, but those have both been talked about. Those are both options too.
And then that way we can keep the middle school and high school kids separate.
I don't see how filling in.
It would be easier with the flow, and like I said, there's going to be a curve, right? There's going to be a curve
I
here
don't see how that's an option.
if this happens.
Community things away from our
Is year 1 going to be perfect? Is year 1 going to teach us what we need to know?
I think it'll make us a lot more comfortable having that second gym before we start.
Or something, right? We might have to get creative.
If we're not doing this right away, this next year, maybe push it back 2 years and try to build that second gym. Since that's one of the biggest for us to do up sports. Yes.
And it's something we will ask the community though too, right? We're not going to make this decision. It's going to come down to everyone, right? And then here's option, and thank you, Spring, for bringing up the pool, because I don't want text messages or phone calls.
It's always been Steve's idea.
How important is that pool to an auction, right? That's a question we're going to ask. Is the pool important enough to spend X amount of dollars on trying to build an auction adjacent to it, right?
The pool is very important to our community.
I'm not denying any of that. I'm just saying, we're going to ask those questions, right? And those are some of the things I know Crystal's are probably going to get.
Yes, I'm back here listening because, the pool is something that you're talking about getting text messages, already been getting them for the last month, phone calls, approaches. So, and then today I was told that it's still on some goofy thing that was made back in 13 about filling in the pool. And it's like, I would love to tell people that, no, it's absolutely not going to happen, but I don't actually know 100% that that's not going to happen.
It sounds like it's an option.
The biggest board meeting I've ever been at, when I was on the board, was when a rumor started that the pool was going to be closed. Yeah. And it was full. It was the biggest meeting I've ever attended.
Right. So that probably will not be our solution. Can I at least? So, I mean, I know more. I'm fully aware of how expensive it is to run a pool, but I do know that in the last 3 years and now 4 years of swim lessons that I have been either told to, make or been a part of, that our kids are excelling in swimming. Like, I've got parents approaching me about, can we have a swim team again? Can we do this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even, yes, I don't want to tell them that it's not a possibility, but obviously it's
We
along
will
the
get
making.
numbers for what it would take to keep the middle school gym open, right? That. We'll get numbers on what it costs to possibly build an office gym, and we'll have numbers put together for what it takes to just do away with the pool if that's the way they want it to go, right? Terry, go ahead. Well, we just hired everybody back.
No, we would.
We would still need them, we're already short-handed.
We still need them.
No.
No, we have a teacher. We're still begging for teachers.
And the 4-day week is it's in the calendar committee right now, and I know they're bringing forward several different options, but they've been working on that since, I don't know, you guys started.
When did you guys start?
October. So when they bring the options to us, that's when we'll get to see them, but right now it's in committee, so. That's what's in committee, yeah. That's what's in their committee right now. They're working on that still. We don't know what they're gonna bring to us yet, so I don't know how that's gonna look. But I do know that they're working on it.
Yeah.
We know people in cities, we know people in Forsyth, we know people in Austin, they all ask us about it.
Well, I was telling Sabrina and some of the board, when I was talking about the consolidation, I talked to them about their 4-day calendar and Forsyth, and they said the same thing. They loved it. The absences were way down, substitutes are way down, and it just worked out great for them. So.
And the only thing I did have two parents say, they would prefer Tuesdays to Friday, so you're not missing Friday, so you're not having to come back to school on Friday and report. How about Monday? Yeah. But that's all.
Like I said, it hasn't been presented to us yet.
Would that save any money? I can finish up. Is it gonna save money to go to a 4-day week?
I think it would save on like the buses, because they would be running 1 day less a week. But I don't know how it would look. If a 4-day week is brought, then negotiations have to open with our classified staff. And so I don't know what that looks like. I don't think we want to implement a calendar where we're gonna lose money or have to get wages cut. So I don't know what that would look like.
I don't think
know where else
it's-
the savings would be.
I don't think it saves us anything.
1 day lunch, 1 day buses, maybe.
Yeah. Some trickle down, but as far as salaries and all that go, I don't see it saves us.
Brittany says no.
I have a question.
Raising my hand for
I'm
a
gonna go
while,
left or
and, you told me to stop, but.
no, I didn't think so.
Anyways, what I'm just saying is, I'm getting really confused, the longer we're sitting in here, what is the reason ultimately for the consolidation? Is it for the repairs that FEMS is, the boiler's old, this and that? Because it's all over, I don't really know why this is happening.
Conversation came back
Because what
up.
I'm also asking is, your building reserve, you said you have enough money to carry you, have a million quotes. There's other places you can reach out to, there's organizations, nonprofits, people who want to help for the sake of helping. Where Southeastern, I worked in the housing industry for 10 years, it's everywhere. And with all these tax cuts, they don't need those tax credits anymore, so it's gonna, what I'm saying is you have 890,000 in your building reserve. Can you use that to fix those? Is it mainly a cost issue, or is it an everything issue?
We can use that to fix that, but once we drain that,
No,
right,
I
once it's gone,
understand that. Once you
now
do
I
that,
got to
then
start
you're
asking
doing
you for money to rebuild that.
it. Yeah.
For me, it's
I've
a
worked in
long-term
places where they
stability.
wanted our restricted money, unrestricted, to do whatever they wanted. So that's what I said when I see the coal thing, so I asked them, start doing our state people. That's
Right now, we have more than enough room.
I'm sure she would love to help to state representative. A lot of DSPs here,
Yeah.
we gotta use our voices. I'm not gonna make it a race thing, sorry about that, just use Dave, who's a main house representative. We gotta knock on these doors. We gotta advocate for ourselves. I don't know. I just try to get my clarity, because I appreciate all you teachers, all you educators, all you former educators, because you all helped save all of us. We all had that special teacher at school who helped us. So, sorry if I sound like I'm getting a little heated, I'm not, I'm just like, what the hell? I'm just used to like reaching out, knocking on doors, like, hey, can you help us? We need your help, we wanna collaborate. As I said, where's Ed Joyner? He's road bike commissioner. I pass him every day.
Right. This is a post to me, it's open to the public. I mean, we didn't reach out specifically to some of these people. We just reached out to everyone and said, hey, we're gonna do this. So, this isn't gonna be the last of it either.
The building reserve, that I just want to add to that a little bit, is the taxpayers. So we permissively levy for that and try to build it up for the times that we do have something bad happen. But we have to permissively levy, or we can do a building reserve levy. If we do that, we can ask for
permission anymore.
But it does have a limit on it. We can't just ask for whatever we want permissively, even in the building reserve fund, there is a limit. But we can run a building reserve levy and ask for $500,000 from the taxpayers and run a 5-year levy if that were the case too. But I just want to explain the building.
There's a lot of contractors around here who offer their services for prorated, especially for schools. People will use their services because they want it. We all, at some point, rural Montana's gonna have to start realizing we all need to work together.
Yep.
Because taking from each other ain't making anything. We're gonna say, hey, we need some resources.
I just wanted to clarify, you said you guys rehired everybody, was that classified or certified, or was it both?
Certified's already rehired, classified's coming on the April agenda.
And we have all intentions to pretty much.
There's a couple things we had to push it off. I know some of them had like probationary periods. They wanted to make sure they got through that. So, and I know they talked to Connie, Matt, about that, because we should have been on the March, but we wanted to get, like I said, there was 2 or 3 on probationary, and this put them. We would have to leave them off and come back. So we decided we'll just wait, get through that period, and then bring them on.
I just thought, yeah, I missed something there. I was like, I thought this, yeah.
Chris.
Just to throw it out there, because I know it was brought up at the high school staff meeting with Scott. I'm not familiar with the area, but I know that there are different grants out there. And I know some people are good and enjoy writing grants. I'm not going to name names of the people that like doing that, but I know they exist and they love the school. But that might be another option to explore. And like I said, I don't know what the availability is. I don't know what the requirements are or whatever. But if we're looking at a potential shortfall, and again, I did participate in sports, I do care about sports. But it's not my priority. My priority is, and always has been, the whole reason I went into education is the kids and their well-being. And
yeah, you're right. We can talk to, like, let's make it simple. Let's talk about just an ox gym for everybody.
That's too small.
Let's talk about that. Just a gym, okay? We would write up a business plan for Cold War. We would explore that. We would explore whatever grant money's out there available to that. We would reach out to some of the bigger utilities as well, right? Maybe Northwestern would be interested in helping Westmoreland, CI. We'll do all that. The grants are a great idea, but they're also, it's this year. money for this year. Well, okay, what does that do? Does it give us another 6 months, right? You know, I'm more looking at the budget, okay, and where we're gonna save money there. Because right now, I think we're, let's be honest, what are we, 95% of the budget in high school and 94% in the elementary? We're there. So,
How's the boiler at the high school? Because
good right now.
the middle school, not when it's 80 degrees in my classroom all last fall. There's something must be going on with it. So I'm just wondering, is that part of our budget?
It's working fine.
High school?
One must be working just fine. Like I said, we have to get somebody down here to explain to us what's going on with that boiler. That's not the easiest thing to do right now. Maybe now that well, I can't blame it on weather because we haven't had that on the street.
Hey, you remember when you guys, Steve, you guys remember when you guys came through the rooms and found out kind of what was going on? Okay, downstairs when my particular room flooded, they turned it into central, one of the classrooms that was supposed to be for FCS, okay? And then instead of improving and bringing up to par the FCS room that I'm using currently, he chose to slap some new countertops in and throw the old cabinetry that I can't use really any of my lower cabinets. Doors, I have to tape them shut. I don't have proper ventilation. You name it. It didn't get done. On top of it, coming in here, not so much this year, but in years past, coming in here at 6:30 in the morning, and it smells like raw sewage. And when you're here, you all smelled it if you've been in here after school's out and before school starts. That sewer smell. The staff downstairs, we have to use the kids' bathroom because we don't have a staff bathroom downstairs. Yeah. And then when there's stuff going on, we can't get into the staff bathroom in the office. There's a lot of logisticals. There's bathroom issues, period. There's money that needs to be put into classrooms, not just mine, Karen's, other classrooms, downstairs. And I'm sorry, when it's 90 degrees in my classroom, it makes me sick. And we shouldn't have to work in a 90-degree room when we can't open a window.
Okay, and you know, remember, how many maintenance guys do we have? All right? If their workload gets cut by a third, a lot of these other problems can be addressed sooner, right? There's some things that...
But they didn't even get put back in right to begin with.
Right, but full disclosure, Bob didn't make that decision, the insurance company made that decision.
Okay.
They refused to replace your other capital.
Yeah. So that's something we have to do internally, okay?
Okay.
Because we're always on the teeter. We all have insurance. We're always on that one file away of getting dropped, and then we got to go out. Brittany will tell you, that's something we're constantly battling too.
But in my room, it's a safety issue.
Sure, I understand.
Just as well as it's a safety issue in the welding booth.
Sure.
It's a ventilation issue.
Sure.
Science room, yeah, it's not just those.
Right.
But those are things, how are we going to address those issues, increasing the amount of students within the high school building if we combine the both? That's a serious question. You might be cutting the budget, but how much are we we need to know how much we're gonna have to put into this building, not just adding a gym, nothing against sports, but the actual.
Also PE. Okay?
All right,
Physical
PE.
education.
But
See,
how much do we have to put
where
into
you're
this?
going, it goes right back to that building reserve, okay? We start dwindling that down, start using that up, okay? Whether it's here or at Pine View, okay? Then we have to start leveling that again. So, like I said, the positive side on that is you take one school away, now you have more resources for these two, okay? Things will get done a little quicker. Will it be perfect? No, I don't know, probably not.
I mean, I have no
It
problem
moves
trying to find more
forward,
grants, but, yeah.
Yeah, I get it. Michelle?
I now have 3 things to say, but Militia was helping me raise my arm because I'm sore from lifting in our awesome weight room at the middle school. Love to use. And I also was here, just want to clarify because at the board meeting that I went to, you had said that you wanted to know by the end of March if we were going to move next year. And we've been sitting on pins and needles at the middle school.
No, we also said that's not gonna happen.
Good, okay, so I just wanted to clarify, we are safe for 1 more year.
Yes,
Okay, very good.
at least.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. And then I also wanted to ask, have we had a professional cost analysis done by an outside company to find out exactly how much it does or would save us to shut down the middle school? Is it, how expensive is it to run? Who's made that analysis and when was it last
Kinstry
done?
had made that back, I don't know how many years ago it's been now, but
Too far, probably.
they actually had price guarantee or cost savings guarantees built in. One was for the Isabel Learning Center, and then one was for the middle school. And so they had evaluated all of that and provided those. And if we want updated numbers, we would probably just have to ask them to do that again. So yeah, it's
That
been
one that made that analysis.
Huh?
Do you know what? Oh.
When or who?
Who?
McKinstry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we need input from the entire community for. There has to be a plan for that building, but it has to be community-wide, it can't just be us deciding that. So I would hope that there is a place for that building in our community somewhere.
What's someone?
Thank you.
Are there, is there any world we live in where that building is allowed by law to be utilized by both the school district and other entities?
I don't know why not. Right? If somebody else came in and say purchased it or just took it over, I don't know why they couldn't say,
But I mean, could we use it for school district usage and have another entity occupy part of the building, of course, taking all security issues into all that? Is that legal?
Could with our, because with our insurance and stuff, we have a really hard time getting it insured, just with people coming in and out, background checks and things like that.
yeah, that entity, whatever you're talking about,
Yeah.
would probably have to have sole ownership and responsibility of it.
Yeah.
And we would be, we would rent.
I'm just wanting to know if it's technically possible.
It's technically possible.
I don't think with kids in the building, it could be possible.
But administrative staff or,
Yeah, if you have offices in there, you could probably rent it out for more offices. But I don't think you can bring in outside people when you have kids in the building.
right. I have one more boring question. Has anybody actually penciled out what it looks like? I know from going to school here when I did that clearly we know we have square footage for numbers. Have a look at those. As far as I know, you don't have empty rooms in your school? Like completely unused classrooms? Yeah. How many? What?
We don't know, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Quite a few.
I guess, we know that the numbers fit the difference between carrying a curriculum for 9 through 12 for numbers and carrying a curriculum for 6 through 12. So I'm just curious as to if we actually literally have the proper amount of classrooms without having, I mean, it looks to me like we're going to be looking at spending money no matter what. We're going to spend money to save money. There's no way we can do this without putting money out. And then I would venture to say that by the time we consolidate buildings, just the extra hours, like I think we'll see utility increases possibly for this school, just more bodies, more things going on. We're going to probably look at the savings in the FMS, obviously, but then I venture to say it's not
be a dollar for dollar savings. We cut $350 out here, but I think the high school will go up probably some. Maybe,
It could, you're still operating within the same hours of the day.
right.
Right.
I'm just guessing. Five rooms here.
I know
But that.
Evanston's one that can be used. There's, like I said, with all the modifications and things that were already done, it's ready. If this is the way we go for those kids.
Just 7th and 8th.
Are we moving to be a C school?
What's that?
Is it just rumor
What?
that we're having to go to be a C?
No.
C school has to have under 100 enrollment in your high school for I think 2 to 3 years
Okay.
before they even consider you for C school. I don't remember what those numbers were for 7th and 8th.
I know, that's ridiculous.
I don't think it's that many. 70 kids maybe total, 7th and 8th?
I'm trying to remember how many copies I made. I don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Trey, sorry.
So going back to a 4-day week, if you talk to the parents, sure, it's great. But if you talk to staff and it's a true 4-day week where staff gets time off, or is it a 4-day week in Miles City where they have to come in anyway?
I don't know, what calendar are you bringing to the board?
I'm not bringing a calendar. I'm just making the statement that
I don't know, I think the hours, the last time we talked, the hours fit the traditional 4-day.
okay, so that is not expecting staff to come in when there are no students to teach.
That's one of the proposed calendars. Calendar
There's two.
committee has not met since January.
Yeah.
And so, but one of the options that has been thrown out there is to have, I think it was called a hybrid something.
It's a hybrid calendar, yeah.
Not that that's not important,
Yeah.
but that's really
Not why we're here. I know.
not why we're here.
It was brought up, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure that if it's a true 4-day, sure. If it's not, eh.
We have 37 7th graders, 32 8th graders.
There you go.
So 69 right now.
Thank you. So, Nate,
What year was that built?
Which part?
Is it older than 50?
yeah.
Can we register as national?
The old part could, yes, the original part. When was the addition put on?
I know.
Excuse me?
Sixth grade.
Okay, the first edition,
To the music.
okay, and then the latest edition.
6th grade wing. It used to be called the 6th grade wing.
88 now.
Like it was finished. It was about 14.
A lot of stuff to discuss in there. A lot of stuff we gotta think about. We'll keep having these conversations, we will. We are gonna put out a survey to all the, to the tax holders, to everybody. Everybody we can, enrollment, if we can get it out to everybody that's in school here, we'll get it out to everybody is, although this is great, there's more people here than there was for the 5.
And I know Scott has talked to staff at each building, and then he's also asked specifically the department managers. So he's gathering feedback, and that, I'm assuming, will be presented to us at some point. We can work through all that too. So we are going to get all of that as well.
Sorry.
We're gonna push all the information we can out.
The survey, is that gonna be paper as well as like Facebook? Cause I know like there was something recently that was a survey that was the calendar one, that was sent out, like through Facebook and stuff, but not everyone in our community is on Facebook. And so I'm just curious, is there another option for that?
Yeah, I
Do you know?
think we could mail them out to everybody.
Brittany just said she got it.
What? I could bring him to your office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just wondered if these members, before that number is on this list, that took that calendar survey, and just about every staff member, because I did it for all, did it for admin, certified, classified, and community, and we had extremely good results. And I have posted all those results on our website.
What was that through again?
Survey.
Survey Monkey? Oh, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably how we would do it, something Google-ish that everybody can get on.
Okay.
We'll just notify that, hey, this, well,
Is
Evan
Google
will
your
notify
official answer?
everybody that, hey, this survey's out, it's ready to go on this date, and it closes on this date. Is that basically how that works? Evan?
Say that one more time?
We put out that invite, you can go ahead and do the survey on, let's say it opens on a Monday and it closes on like a
We have
Thursday.
an open date.
Yeah.
Do we send an email blast through, Infinite Campus to all the parents so that, you know, they don't have to be on Facebook, but they, if you're a parent in the school district, just get it sent out?
Yeah, just a web link, we send it out.
Okay.
That makes sense. Infinite campus.
Message, so they all have a message.
Yep.
Out there. We got really good results. We did it the same way, or we got admin, or get it like to do.
I think it's easier that way. I think it reaches more people. The way we did. Yep. Okay.
I want to throw this out there, like, I know I have voted for at least half of our school board members. And I have been given plenty of things for the pool, to keep up the pool, which I am trying to maintain, so it doesn't cost us as much money. So, in that saying, there is tons of people that think you guys have secret agendas and that you have this and that and the other. So, on that note, I don't personally believe that, but with other people thinking that, and I know that you guys try to be as open as possible, but telling the whole community in some form of manner as soon as you, like, we're not going to, you know, whatever. Like, I think it's a big thing for a lot of these people that don't have Facebook, don't have this, don't have that. And I try to advocate, and I want to believe that I voted for the right people. And I think that's where a lot of people are sitting.
We'll
So,
get you all the information that we get.
okay.
My first priority is not.
I don't think a lot of people believe that, so I don't know how to make them believe that, so.
We'll look into all those, like I said, all those scenarios. Like I said, all the conversations I've had outside this meeting, the biggest one is the gym. And I get that. It's the gym and locker room. I get that. I do. We'll exhaust those options.
Wouldn't it be like millions to build just an basic gym? Like that budget right there looks pretty darn good to me when you think just to
bigger.
I know, that's what I'm saying, just to get the bare minimum, we're talking millions for an off gym. And, you know, I don't know, that budget right there
We'll
looks
get that
pretty good.
information and we'll get it to you. You can tell us what you want to do.
Before we go, you guys had somebody come and look at the middle school boiler, correct? To determine that it needed.
I can't hear you.
You guys had somebody come into the middle school
We're trying to get them in here
To look at the boiler?
to look at the boiler.
so it has not been.
Has not been done.
Okay, okay.
So we don't know. That's why I said I'm not gonna give you a number on that because we don't know. We're trying to get somebody to come look at that.
So it's not the boiler issue as far as.
It's not just.
Okay, and then the boiler at the high school, there's issues. Is that what I was gathering when it was asked? There's issues with the high school as well?
Not the boiler itself, but I think the temperature control in each room and how to get that set properly.
But we don't know for sure, yeah. Right.
So far, the boiler has not been brought to our attention. All the electrical side of it, that's getting addressed in the fall.
Okay, okay.
That ties into that one. So. Email us. Questions, concerns, keep that up. We're reading them. We're looking at them.
I feel like this is the most transparent you guys have been.
to go to board meetings to make sure I know what the heck is happening, which is great. But when you're losing your boss and then 2 weeks later, you're like, oh yeah, your school's shutting down too. It's just hard, and then like someone like me who's very involved with the community, I care about the kids. I care about the gym, obviously. I would love you to keep that in mind as you say you're transparent. Be more transparent. Just because as a newer educator who is getting their degree, to stay here, it's hard to want to stay here if I feel betrayed, if I feel like I don't know what's happening. Like, I don't understand that, but I do now. Like, and I appreciate that. But all of the staff that I've talked to, like, we're just walking on eggshells at the middle school, you know? So it just like sucks. But I appreciate the transparency now, before we didn't have that. So, yeah,
It's always been discussed at board meetings.
Yep, that's what I
Those
just
are
said
always
that. Yeah, but I should have to go to a board meeting?
Next year.
No.
That was scary.
No, I said I wanted to know if we could.
Yeah.
By the end of March.
Okay,
But once we started peeling that, I was like, there's no way we can.
I understand. So the man that came around after we did the big safety training, right? He came out, he came to the middle school and he said, yep, you have to peel that first layer off the window, right? It's unsafe. He's the one that told us that our school was closing. Make that make sense. That happened. I don't know either.
Who was it?
Who was it?
Was that the safety inspector that checked the boiler?
So I don't know. That's
Different kind of safety.
And it totally, it could have been someone gossiping in my conference right now. I know, but I was also there when Sabrina was saying that the gym was being closed and there was nothing that they could do. That's when I turned around and walked out.
I did not say it was being closed. You walked into half of a conversation, and what I said was, I would never just keep a gym open. And I've said this from the beginning. If we're going to keep a gym open, then we keep kids in that school. Why would we do that? That's what I was saying when you walked in and then walked out.
Okay, that's my fault.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't know if I was going to have my job, so I was emotional.
No one has ever said from the beginning, we're going to make this decision at the end of March and we're going to do it the next weekend or as soon as possible. It was like, we have to get this ball rolling. And then what really started happening was this. Right?
So we didn't know about this.
We didn't know about this either. And now we know about this. But this is not helping. It's not helping at all.
We need to have a popcorn sale.
I still have popcorn at my house.
It's delicious.
All right, one more. Christy?
I'm hearing what's being said as far as like the middle school, and I get it. And I think, so transparency has been thrown out there a lot, especially on Facebook. I think what the concern is not so much the transparency for the teachers of the middle school at least, and maybe all of the teachers. It's more about, is there a way that you can communicate more directly with us? Maybe not, and this is just like throwing it out there and I don't necessarily expect an answer. I'm listening to what's being said and also understanding of frustration that might be being felt by you guys, especially as people throw that at you a lot. But more about being partners, just as far as communicating with us, again, more directly versus, because I know, like, I don't coach because I did it once and that was enough. But for those that are teachers and coaches or, you know, whatever, sometimes the timing doesn't work to attend those. So if there's a different way, whatever you guys, I don't have an idea for you. If I did, I'd tell you. But if there's another way that we could be in conversation with the board members so that it's not a terrifying surprise or whatever. Again, just listening, try to interpret and understanding where you guys are.
4 minutes. I just have to look at 4 meetings.
Well, yeah, But also like just being able to communicate because we're all here for the same reason.
Sure.
I love that you guys do that because I don't wanna. Because that's a lot of numbers.
Well, I think part of the problem was it coming right after losing two of our principals, like, what else is next, what else is next? And that's.
Listen, I can tell you this, we'll leave on this, because there's a lot going on. This board, this district, I think is pretty simple for us. Does it benefit the students? Does it benefit the staff? And does it benefit the district? Those are the three things we have to look at.
Does it go in that order?
It should go in that order,
Okay.
okay? But the district has to be part of that conversation as well, okay? Student, staff, and district. If it benefits all three, that's an easy decision.
Right.
Okay? So that's what we're looking at right now. How does it benefit? Who does it benefit? How do we make it benefit all? Okay? That's what we're trying to do.
So, and I mean, I think what Melisha said was right, where you guys think you're being transparent. I know that may be hard, but be more transparent, because it's hard for, all I want to do is call them, but I know you're already getting bogged down by 5 million emails and everything else, like, it's hard to, so if we know more, I guess, it would make things easier.
Well, all of the meetings are all of the board meetings are.
On video and the minutes, yes, and I get all that stuff,
And so then if you have a question, just email, and you can call me.
Right, I have called you, and that's where I'm saying, like, I have talked to all of you at some point in my time, so.
Anybody through any of that stuff, and if there are things that we cannot say for personnel or otherwise, I have told you that as well.
Right.
And when we live in a community where it feels like everybody's always waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I just moved here 5 years ago, and the first question I asked is, why would I move here if the plants are going to close? When we always live with the sword of Damocles over our head, and everybody's always on edge, it makes it really hard when it feels like we aren't getting the full picture. And getting ahead on that would make us feel a lot better.
I can't control any of that.
I know. I'm not even saying plant or anything like that. I'm saying the general disposition of people is we're just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. If we can be proactive, it would be nice.
All right. It's 8 o'clock. I had a fundraiser to go to for athletes.